There is a silent weight that millions of people carry every single day. It's not visible, it's not something you can touch, yet it controls the direction of their lives. That weight is the past. According to motivational speaker Tony Robbins, most people are not limited by their intelligence, their resources, or their opportunities. They are limited by the meaning they give to the experiences that happened years ago. Think about it for a moment. A single painful memory, a betrayal, a failure, a mistake, or even words spoken by someone long ago can become a chain around your future. And the tragic part is that many people never question those chains. They accept them as truth. They replay the same story in their mind again and again. I'm not good enough. I always fail. People always leave. Nothing works for me. Over time, that story becomes their identity. But what if the past doesn't define you? What if the past is simply a training ground rather than a life sentence? Tony Robbins often says that the past only has power over you if you decide to carry it into the present. Every human being experiences pain. Pain is unavoidable, but suffering is optional. Pain is an event. Suffering is the meaning you attach to that event. And the moment you understand that difference, you begin to take back control of your life. The truth is, many people are living today as prisoners of yesterday. A business failure from 10 years ago still stops them from taking risks. A heartbreak from the past still prevents them from trusting someone new. A moment of embarrassment still stops them from speaking up. And every time they hesitate, the past wins again. Tony Robbins teaches that the human brain is designed to protect you, not necessarily to make you happy. When something painful happens, your brain tries to remember it so you can avoid it in the future. But sometimes the brain overprotects you. It builds walls so high that not only pain stays outside, opportunity stays outside too. People say they want a better future, but subconsciously they keep feeding the same emotional patterns from the past. They replay the same memories, feel the same anger, the same regret, the same guilt. And every time they relive those emotions, they strengthen the past's grip on their identity. But here's the breakthrough idea Tony Robbins shares with millions around the world. Your past does not equal your future. Just because something happened once does not mean it will happen again. Just because you failed before does not mean you are a failure. Those are two completely different things. The moment you separate who you are from what happened to you, everything begins to change. Because events do not define identity, meaning defines identity. And meaning is something you have the power to change. Every human being lives inside a story. Not a story written in books, but a story written in their own mind. This story explains why things happen, who we believe we are, and what we think is possible for our future. According to Tony Robbins, the most powerful force in shaping our lives is not reality itself, but the meaning we attach to reality. Two people can experience the exact same event, yet create completely different futures from it. One person experiences failure and decides it means they are not capable. Another person experiences failure and decides it means they are learning and growing. The event is identical, but the meaning is different, and therefore the outcome is different. Tony Robbins often asks a powerful question. What if the story you've been telling yourself about your past is wrong? Imagine that the moment you believed destroyed your confidence was actually preparing you for something greater. Imagine that the rejection you experienced was actually protecting you from something that would have held you back. When you shift the meaning of an experience, you literally change your emotional state. And when your emotional state changes, your decisions change. And when your decisions change, your destiny begins to change as well. Think about how many people spend years blaming themselves for things they cannot change anymore. They replay mistakes in their mind as if they could somehow rewrite the past by worrying about it. But worrying about the past is like trying to drive forward while staring into the rearview mirror. Eventually you crash. The only way to move forward is to acknowledge the past, learn from it, and then release it. That does not mean pretending it never happened. It means refusing to let it control who you become next. Tony Robbins explains that the strongest people are not those who never experienced pain. The strongest people are those who decided their pain would not be wasted. They took the hardest moments of their lives and turned them into fuel. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" they asked a better question. How can I use this experience to grow stronger? That shift in perspective is what separates people who stay stuck from those who transform their lives. At some point in life, every person faces a moment where they must make a decision. Not a small decision like what to eat or what to watch, but a life-defining decision. A decision about who they will be from this moment forward. Tony Robbins believes that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your decisions. And one of the most powerful decisions you can ever make is the decision to stop letting the past control your future. Many people think change takes a long time. They believe transformation requires years of slow progress. But Tony Robbins often says that real change happens in a moment, the moment you decide. Think about it. Every major turning point in your life started with a decision. The decision to start something, the decision to walk away from something, the decision to believe something new about yourself. In that single moment of clarity, everything shifts. Letting go of the past does not mean forgetting lessons. It means refusing to carry emotional weight that no longer serves you. Imagine trying to climb a mountain while carrying a heavy backpack full of stones. Every step becomes harder. Eventually, you feel exhausted and wonder why progress feels impossible. Now imagine removing those stones one by one. Suddenly, the climb becomes lighter. The mountain has not changed, but your ability to move forward has. That is exactly what happens when you release the emotional baggage of the past. The future was never the problem. The weight you carried was the problem. And the moment you decide to let go, your energy returns. Your confidence returns. Your sense of possibility returns. Tony Robbins often reminds people that life is not happening to you, and it is happening for you. Every experience, even painful ones, contains a lesson, a strength, or a new direction waiting to be discovered. The past may have shaped you, but it does not have the authority to define you. That authority belongs to the decisions you make today. One of the most surprising truths about human behavior is that people often hold on to pain because it feels familiar. According to motivational strategist Tony Robbins, the human mind prefers certainty over happiness. Even if that certainty is painful, even if it keeps you stuck, the brain still clings to it because it knows what to expect. This is why many people stay emotionally attached to their past. They replay old memories, old regrets, and old disappointments because those emotions have become part of their identity. Letting go would require stepping into uncertainty, and uncertainty can feel frightening. Think about someone who was betrayed in the past. Over time, they might build a belief that people cannot be trusted. That belief becomes a protective shield. It prevents them from feeling vulnerable again. But it also prevents them from building meaningful relationships. In this way, the past silently controls the present, not because the event is still happening, but because the mind continues to defend itself from something that already ended. Tony Robbins explains that many people confuse protection with progress. They build emotional walls thinking those walls will keep them safe. But those same walls also block growth, love, opportunity, and connection. Imagine trying to live life fully while constantly guarding against what might go wrong. That kind of life becomes exhausting. Eventually, the fear of pain becomes stronger than the desire for happiness. The truth is, holding on to the past does not protect you. It simply keeps the wound open. Every time you revisit the memory with the same emotional intensity, your brain relives it as if it is happening again. The body responds with the same stress, the same tension, the same sadness. Over time, that emotional loop becomes a pattern, and patterns shape identity. One of the most powerful messages shared by Tony Robbins is that pain can become one of the greatest driving forces in a person's life. Many of the strongest, most successful people in the world did not grow up with perfect circumstances. In fact, many of them faced deep struggles, rejection, loss, or failure. But instead of allowing those experiences to break them, they used them as fuel. The difference between someone who remains stuck and someone who transforms their life often comes down to one question. What meaning do you assign to your pain? If someone believes their struggles mean they are unlucky or incapable, they begin to withdraw from opportunities. But if someone believes their struggles are preparing them for something greater, they begin to grow stronger with each challenge. Tony Robbins himself often speaks about difficult moments from his early life. Growing up in an unstable environment, facing financial hardship, and experiencing emotional struggles, could have easily defined his identity in a negative way. Instead, he chose to see those experiences as lessons that shaped his desire to help others. His past did not become his prison, it became his purpose. This is the transformation available to every person. Pain can either be a chain that holds you back or a fire that pushes you forward. The moment you decide that your struggles will not be wasted, they begin to gain new meaning. Suddenly, the failure that once embarrassed you becomes a lesson that made you wiser. The rejection that once hurt you becomes proof that you were brave enough to try. For many people, the hardest part of letting go of the past is forgiveness. Sometimes the pain came from someone else's actions, betrayal, injustice, or cruelty. In those moments, forgiveness can feel impossible. But according to Tony Robbins, forgiveness is not about approving what happened. It is about freeing yourself from the emotional prison created by resentment. Holding on to anger may feel justified, but it also drains your energy. It keeps your attention focused on the past instead of the future. Imagine carrying a heavy stone in your hands every day. At first you might not notice the weight, but over time it begins to exhaust you. Forgiveness is simply the act of putting that stone down. This does not mean forgetting the lesson. It means releasing the emotional attachment that keeps the pain alive. When you forgive, you are not saying the other person was right. You are saying that your peace of mind matters more than continuing to relive the injury. Many people believe forgiveness benefits the person who caused the pain. But in reality, forgiveness benefits the one who chooses it. The moment you release resentment, your emotional energy returns. Your mind becomes clearer. Your focus shifts toward possibilities instead of past wounds. Tony Robbins often reminds people that life is too short to spend years fighting battles that already ended. The past cannot be changed, but the meaning of the past can be transformed. And once that transformation happens, the same experience that once felt like a burden becomes a source of strength. Letting go does not erase your history. It simply allows you to stop living inside it. Most people think their life is controlled by circumstances, but according to Tony Robbins, life is actually controlled by patterns. These patterns are invisible habits of thinking, feeling, and reacting that repeat themselves again and again. If you pay close attention to your life, you might notice that certain emotional cycles keep returning. Maybe it is self-doubt before a big opportunity, fear before making an important decision, or anger when things do not go your way. These patterns often begin in the past. A painful experience creates a strong emotional response, and the brain remembers it. Then the next time something similar happens, the brain automatically triggers the same emotional reaction. Over time, this reaction becomes automatic. You no longer choose how to respond. Your past chooses for you. This is why people often feel stuck in the same life situations again and again. They might change jobs, cities, or relationships, but the emotional patterns remain the same. The external environment changes, but the internal programming does not. Tony Robbins teaches that if you want to change your life, you must interrupt these patterns. The moment you react differently to a situation that used to control you, you break the emotional loop. It might feel uncomfortable at first because your brain expects the old response. But that discomfort is actually a sign that change is happening. Imagine someone who used to respond to criticism with anger because, in the past, criticism made them feel worthless. The moment they choose to respond with curiosity instead of anger, the old pattern begins to weaken. Each time they repeat the new response, the brain forms a new emotional pathway. This is how transformation begins, not by erasing the past, but by refusing to let the past dictate your reactions in the present. Every time you interrupt an old emotional pattern, you take back a piece of your freedom. The human brain is incredibly powerful, but it is also programmable. According to Tony Robbins, the beliefs you repeat consistently become the blueprint for your reality. If you repeatedly tell yourself that you are unlucky, incapable, or stuck, your mind will begin to search for evidence to support that belief. Soon you start noticing only the events that confirm your negative expectations. But the opposite is also true. When you begin feeding your mind new empowering beliefs, your brain starts looking for opportunities instead of obstacles. This process is known as conditioning, just like athletes train their bodies through repetition. Successful people train their minds through focused thinking. One powerful way to reprogram the mind is through conscious language. The words you use internally shape the emotions you experience. Instead of saying, "I always fail," you can ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of saying, "Nothing ever works for me," you can say, "This challenge is preparing me for something bigger." These small shifts may seem simple, but they have a profound impact over time. The brain gradually replaces old beliefs with new possibilities. The emotional weight of the past begins to loosen its grip because the mind is no longer focused on the same negative narrative. Tony Robbins often explains that your mind is like a garden. If you allow weeds of negative thoughts to grow freely, they will eventually dominate everything. But if you intentionally plant seeds of empowering beliefs and nurture them daily, those beliefs will begin to shape your future. Reprogramming the mind does not happen in a single moment, but it begins the moment you decide to think differently about your past and your potential. One of the most powerful ideas taught by Tony Robbins is that lasting change happens when identity changes. Many people try to improve their lives by changing behaviors. They attempt new habits, new routines, and new goals. But if their identity remains the same, those changes rarely last. For example, someone might try to become confident by forcing themselves to speak more in meetings. But deep inside, they still believe they are a shy or incapable person. That belief quietly sabotages their progress. Eventually, they return to their old behavior because it matches their identity. True transformation occurs when someone changes the story they believe about who they are. Instead of saying, "I'm someone who always struggles," they begin to say, "I'm someone who learns and grows through challenges." Instead of saying, "I'm not strong enough," they say, "I'm becoming stronger every day." This shift might seem subtle, but it changes everything. When your identity changes, your actions naturally follow. A person who sees themselves as resilient will respond to difficulties differently than someone who sees themselves as fragile. Tony Robbins emphasizes that you are not defined by the worst moment of your past. You are defined by the meaning you give to those moments and the identity you choose moving forward. The moment you decide that your past experiences made you stronger instead of weaker, your identity begins to evolve. And when identity evolves, the future opens in ways you never imagined possible. At some moment in every person's life, there comes a turning point, a moment where the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of changing. According to Tony Robbins, this is the moment where transformation truly begins. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that you have spent years carrying memories that no longer serve you. Memories of mistakes, regrets, disappointments, and losses. You suddenly see how much energy those memories have taken from your present life. And in that moment of clarity, something shifts inside you. You realize that the past is not a place you have to live in anymore. You begin to understand that your future is still unwritten. Every choice you make today is a new brushstroke on the canvas of your life. Tony Robbins often reminds people that the strongest decision you can ever make is the decision to move forward, not because the past was easy, but because your future deserves your full attention. The world does not need the version of you that is trapped in yesterday's pain. The world needs the version of you that learned from it, grew from it, and became stronger because of it. The moment you truly accept this idea, something powerful happens. The emotional chains of the past begin to break. The weight you carried for so long starts to lift. And for the first time in a long time, you feel something new rising inside you. Hope. Because the truth is, the past may have shaped your story, but it does not get to write the next chapter. And that chapter begins the moment you decide to move forward. There comes a moment in life when you realize that no one else is coming to rescue you from the weight of your past. Not your circumstances, not time, not even the people who hurt you. According to Tony Robbins, true empowerment begins the moment you stop waiting for the past to change and start deciding who you will become despite it. This realization can feel uncomfortable at first, because it removes the excuses that once felt safe. But it also gives you something far more powerful: control over your future. The truth is, your past experiences may have influenced you, but they do not own you. Every new day gives you an opportunity to make a different choice, to think a different thought, and to move in a different direction. When you finally accept responsibility for your emotional state and your actions, you reclaim the power that the past once seemed to hold over you. Regret is one of the heaviest emotions people carry. Many spend years replaying decisions they wish they could change. But as Tony Robbins often explains, regret becomes destructive when it turns into self-punishment instead of self-learning. Every human being makes mistakes. Every person has moments they wish they could redo. But those moments are not meant to imprison you forever. They are meant to teach you. The moment you transform regret into a lesson, it stops draining your energy and starts building your wisdom. Imagine looking back at a mistake not with shame, but with gratitude for the growth it created. That shift does not erase the past, but it transforms the emotional meaning attached to it. Your emotional energy is one of the most valuable resources you have. Yet many people spend enormous amounts of it reliving experiences that no longer exist. Tony Robbins often reminds audiences that where focus goes, energy flows. When you constantly focus on painful memories, you continue feeding them emotional power, but when you shift your attention toward growth, opportunity, and purpose, your energy begins to work in your favor again. Think about how much time people lose thinking about what went wrong instead of imagining what could go right. Reclaiming your emotional energy means consciously redirecting your attention. It means choosing to invest your thoughts in possibilities rather than regrets. Letting go of the past becomes much easier when you have something powerful pulling you toward the future. That is why Tony Robbins emphasizes the importance of creating a compelling vision for your life. Without a vision, people drift. They revisit the past because they have nothing exciting drawing them forward. But when you create a clear picture of the life you want to build, your focus naturally shifts. You start thinking about who you must become in order to create that future. Your attention moves away from old memories and toward new possibilities. Vision acts like a magnet for your actions, guiding your decisions and giving meaning to your efforts. Transformation is not a single dramatic moment. It is a series of consistent actions repeated daily. Tony Robbins often explains that small changes, repeated consistently, create massive results over time. Letting go of the past requires a commitment to growth in the present. Each day you choose thoughts that empower you rather than weaken you. Each day you practice habits that move you closer to your goals. Over time, these daily choices build a new identity. The identity of someone who moves forward instead of looking backward. One of the most remarkable discoveries people make during personal growth is that they are far stronger than they once believed. According to Tony Robbins, human beings often underestimate their ability to adapt and overcome challenges. When life becomes difficult, people sometimes assume they cannot handle it. Yet when they look back years later, they realize those same challenges made them stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The strength you are searching for may already exist within you. It simply needs to be awakened through action and belief. Even the most painful experiences often contain hidden gifts. Tony Robbins frequently teaches that every challenge carries a lesson that can improve your future. When people begin searching for the gift inside their struggles, their perspective shifts dramatically. Instead of seeing themselves as victims of circumstance, they start seeing themselves as students of life. Each experience becomes a source of wisdom that helps them navigate the future more effectively. The story you tell yourself about your life determines how you see the world. Many people unknowingly repeat a narrative that keeps them trapped in the past. But as Tony Robbins explains, the moment you rewrite that narrative, your identity begins to change. Instead of seeing yourself as someone defined by past failures, you can begin seeing yourself as someone who overcame them. This new story does not ignore the past. It reinterprets it as a journey of growth and resilience. When you finally release the emotional weight of the past, something extraordinary happens. Your mind becomes clearer, your energy becomes stronger, and your perspective becomes broader. According to Tony Robbins, this is the moment when people begin truly living instead of merely surviving. They start taking opportunities that once felt impossible. They build relationships without fear of past disappointments. They pursue goals that once seemed out of reach. The future begins to open in ways they never expected. If there is one message that defines the teachings of Tony Robbins, it is this: your past does not equal your future. The mistakes, disappointments, And hardships you experienced were chapters in your story, not the ending. Every day you wake up with the ability to choose a new direction. You can decide to let go of resentment, regret, and fear. You can decide to learn from your experiences rather than be imprisoned by them. And when you make that decision fully, not halfway, not temporarily but completely, your life begins to transform. The past may have shaped who you were, but the choices you make today will shape who you become. And the moment you truly believe that, you step into a future filled with possibility, growth, and freedom.